attend what I might consider to be painfully long and boring meetings, right? If you've ever belonged or if you've ever worked for the government, then you know what those meetings can be like. Or maybe for a company or a corporation that requires you to be parts of committees and things like that. Or if you've ever been on a committee in the church, sometimes those are the worst, actually. I belonged to priest council in our diocese for several years. I don't think we ever accomplished anything. So you know how those meetings can be. Usually some person who's called the meeting has something to present. There might be some people who respond, a little debate that goes on. But sometimes that debate and arguments and people expressing their opinions can go on for a long time. I think most people just probably stop listening at some point, right, as the meeting continues on. Today's first reading tells us that there was a debate, an important debate in the early church among the apostles who gathered in Jerusalem to talk about how to welcome Gentiles. Not only how, but whether or not Gentiles should be welcomed into the Christian community. And of course, the debate was about whether or not to require Gentiles to practice some of the law of Moses, such as circumcision for males, or avoiding certain kinds of meat offered to idols and other ritual kinds of laws, the law of Moses. Apparently, it was a lively debate with a lot of opinions being expressed. Some wanted Gentiles to convert to Judaism first in order to become Christians. Others didn't want to impose any Jewish law on the Gentile converts. So finally, it is Peter who stands up and he addresses the group. Then, after some silence, Paul and Barnabas get up to give their testimony about how Gentiles have responded so openly to the faith when they were on their missionary journey. Then things get quiet again. And then we're told James, who's the head of the Jerusalem church, puts his 2 cents in. He draws up a compromise. He suggests that Gentile converts should not have to be circumcised, but they should observe some laws regarding illicit kinds of marriages and maybe not eating the meat of strangled animals. In the end, we see the apostles were able to debate a really important issue and draw a just conclusion. And their consensus and their willingness to work together helped the church grow among the Gentiles. The meeting, which is called now the Jerusalem Council, was one of the most important meetings held in the still youthful church. Since that time, there have been numerous meetings, right, of other bishops. We call them councils, which have helped refine church doctrine and promote the faith. I think one thing we recognize is that when the church, in particular, when the church meets, there's a presumption that the Holy Spirit is at work. Whether we're talking about the Vatican Council or even our parish council, the Holy Spirit is present, guiding the church and moving its members forward for the good of the entire church, so that when all is said and done, the person who leads the community makes a decision. And we trust that even those decisions are made in accordance with the mind of Christ. Not everyone will agree with the conclusions drawn, but as members of one body, for the sake of unity, we are asked to give our assent to the decisions reached and to do our best to struggle faithfully if necessary. Sometimes I think it's an amazing thing that our church, as large a body as it is, can be unified to the degree that it is. Of course, it's hardly ever perfect, but by God's grace, the church moves forward. And in the end, I think it's Christ's love for the church that makes this possible. This is what he tells his disciples, that he has loved them, and that love will bring their joy completion. It's Christ's love and the grace of God that work together, I think, to move our church in the direction it needs to go. It's out of love, and it should be out of love for Christ, that we listen to each other, that we contribute our thoughts, and that we come to some agreements. So as long as there is a spirit of love and respect, the church can be united in mind and heart. So the conclusion, I guess, is that it's good always to pray for the church and to remember that whatever may come, God is able to work with our decisions. Things may not be as smooth as we would like them to be, but God still desires that we do our best to trust in the Holy Spirit, to come together for really the purpose of growing in holiness. That's a good thing to remember next time any of us find ourselves in a meeting, maybe wishing we weren't there.